Virtual safety cars, and turn one overtakes. The race ended up having a little bit of everything at the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix, and after all of that, Max Verstappen is victorious. We at GPBlog have got people on the ground. We know that Ludo has been covering everything all weekend, and Ludo, it's a Max Verstappen victory. We thought it might be with him getting to the front row, but at the start of this weekend, it certainly didn't look like Red Bull would have the pace to go for the victory, but here we are.
Yeah, everybody's surprised, but let's be honest, the win came from that first corner. Max braked very late, and it looked like Oscar was looking in his mirror to George Russell and didn't expect probably that Max was coming. So yeah, that's where Max won the race. Clean air, good on his tires. Probably he would have been good on his tires anyway, because the balance of the car was much better today. But yeah, an amazing victory, because before the safety car there was a 20 seconds gap between him and McLaren, and who would have thought that 2 weeks ago when there was the other way around.
Let's stick with Max tightening up the championship as well. Have you had any chance to speak to any of the Red Bull personnel about Max's victory?
Yeah, we talked to Christian Horner. He was very happy because the team has worked very hard to get those updates going, and 2 days after everything was horrible, finally everything's coming together and there's this great victory. So aesthetic, that's what everybody was at Red Bull. And yeah, of course, the championship is wide open again. Christian Horner thinks that also, I think.
Was he looking at Max Verstappen as the driver that made the difference in the cockpit today? It was a little bit of an opposite day for Yuki Tsunoda. Of course, it's going to be difficult after his qualifying, but it did look like Max was driving just a different car. Did Christian say anything to that?
He was satisfied with Yuki's performance. Remember, indeed, he came from the back. He scored a point. That was probably all there was in it, because the rest of the midfield is not standing still. Williams is right up there, and Ferrari is there. Aston had a great run for a while. So it's not easy for a Red Bull to pass all those cars nowadays, unless you're Max Verstappen, and then indeed you're in a league of your own. He had a great day today. Everybody acknowledges that.
McLaren have to look at this as though it's a race victory that's got away from them, taken away the turn one pass by Verstappen. McLaren just didn't seem to know how to win this race with the strategy decisions they made today. Is there anything that was from the working team to say what happened?
Well, I don't think if you would say this to Andrea Stella that he would agree. Andrea was telling that this was really a Red Bull victory. He thinks that no matter what they have done, they wouldn't have won this one. They were surprised that he acknowledged that Red Bull was this good this weekend, and McLaren just didn't have it. And one interesting thing is, of course, why didn't they have it? You know, it was warm. Normally that's in their advantage. Tire management, there's a lot of deck here in this circuit, also normally in their advantage. So they're looking into this. Well, why didn't it work? But they have to acknowledge, and they did acknowledge that, yeah, Max was better this Sunday, and strategy or not, they wouldn't have won it. That's what I think.
Did Stella mention anything about the curious decisions to pit Piastri as early? It seemed quite an odd decision to split the strategy as much as they did.
He didn't say about anything about it, but I don't know if it's strange. You know, you have two cars up front. One does a two-stopper, one does the one-stopper, especially when you're on the back foot. That could be, one of them can open the door. It didn't work out, also because of a virtual safety car where Max had the luck that he could pit, of course. Also a little bit of bad luck, but yeah, I don't think the strategy would have changed anything.
Russell started so high up, and if Piastri decided to defend the other side of the track, he could be the one taking the lead on that first lap. But Russell seemed to have the pace at the start. He also did that early pit stop, which saw him fade away a little bit. How was he after the race?
Well, Russell told everybody has a bad race during a year. Red Bull had it in Bahrain, McLaren had it, I don't know, can't remember anymore, Japan probably. He said this was our bad race. There was nothing going right. What tire they put on, there was no pace in it, and he was kind of surprised that he couldn't fight with the top teams, and that he had to fight with the smaller teams today. Why? He didn't know, no clue.
Well, the next race is coming up so soon. That's a great thing about Formula One. There's always one more race to come, and we're going to Monaco next. It was meant to be tricky to pass in Imola. It turns out it wasn't. So let's see if Monaco is going to be the same for next week's race. Ludo, you've been great all weekend. You've given us so much insight. So thank you so much for that. I know we'll be catching up with you on the ground for GPBlog later in the season. And for everybody else, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in Monaco.